So, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. You actually got to worship on New Year's Day last week, and now we come to our covenant renewal service, which we do the first of each year. I want to just reflect a little bit about that covenant renewal service. There's a picture Joe has there. I guess this is, one of those maybe electric cars. You press the button and 2017 start. We hit the first of the year and it's like we have this energy. We want to embrace the newness of the year and we want to make resolutions. We want this year to be the best it can. Sometimes we look at the past year and we're glad it's over and we want to just look forward to what is in store ahead of us. And we have great expectations. We're ready to start that button. We're ready to just zoom forward. But then all of a sudden, we lose our oomph. So all of a sudden, it's like, kind of same old. We maybe fall back into the same old habits. Things just, this is who I was meant to be, and it's okay. Only about 8% of the population keeps the resolutions they make. 8%. That means 92% of us fail. And some of us get to the point we may not even make resolutions anymore because we know that they fail and it's old hat and we don't even zoom into the new year with a new outlook anymore. Have you got to that point yet? I hope not. Not in Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the one who brings newness of life and he is always our hope and it provides an opportunity for us. And today is an opportunity that I want you to embrace. I want to talk about covenant a little bit. This is a covenant service. What is a covenant? And what is the biblical meaning of covenant? A covenant is a word that's not used often, but it is. Sometimes people think of it as a contract, a legal contract, an agreement between nations, peoples, or even between two individuals. With Jesus Christ and with God and with the biblical aspect of covenant, it can be interpreted as a promise that I talked about with the kids. But covenant, it is more, I came across a definition that I want to embrace today. It is a bond. It is a bond. It is what holds us together. That describes that relationship, that relational aspect that I talked about with that pinky promise. It is something that binds us together. We are bound to God in Jesus Christ. When you want to glue something together, and if it's something that's very precious to you, what do you go for? That super glue, crazy glue, gorilla glue, something, that's going to bond it together, going to make it like new, going to make it stick like it never had separated in the first place. That's what covenant does. That's the meaning of covenant in the biblical sense. It is a bond that God reaches out and offers to us in Jesus Christ. God initiates a covenant with us. He says, "Come and be my people, and there's nothing you can do to make this covenant happen, but I will make it happen through Jesus Christ." It requires Jesus Christ. And so it is this bond that happens, and this bond with God happens. Who's the glue? Jesus Christ is the glue that makes it happen. And it is all about our relationship with God. We are bound to God through Jesus Christ. There in the Old Testament, you might know that Old Testament, New Testament, that word testament actually could be interpreted covenant or translated covenant. There's the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. In the Old Covenant, there was the law. We had to keep the law in order to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And in the Old Testament, there were specific people who were priests. And once a year, they got to enter into the Holy of Holies and make restitution and offer a sacrifice for the forgiveness of our sins. And they did that, and that was like kind of far removed from the ordinary person. They didn't really get to experience that. They were in the outer courts. But with Jesus Christ, we can have that personal experience. We, at any time, can commune with God, can talk with God, can pray to God, can lift up our concerns to God, can cry out to God, can give praise to God. We have that opportunity, and sometimes I don't think we grasp how special that is, because we never experienced the old covenant and how far removed God seemed from his people. Even though he would draw nigh, it was always through some special person, through Moses or through a priest. Moses that went up on the mountain for us, the priest, and remember in the story of the birth of Jesus Christ, how with Elizabeth and her husband, whose name escapes me now, he went, Zechariah, Tom messed this thing up last week. Zechariah went in, and he was the one that went into the Holy of Holies. He was the only one for everybody, for all the people. Now each and every one of us can have that experience because of the new covenant. Now the new covenant doesn't wipe out the rules and the law. It fulfills the law. Listen, Jeremiah 31 talks about the new covenant. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. And it will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they broke my covenant, though I was a husband to them, declares the Lord. This is the covenant I will make with the people of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their minds and write on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbors or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will forgive their wickedness, and I will remember their sins no more. I will put their law in their minds and in their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. I had to get this cross out. I bought this one time. I looked at it in a catalog, and I just finally got it. It was only about $10, but it was one of those things, you look at and you think, oh, that's really nice. I would like that. And, you just that want need thing. Finally, it went out. I really needed this. I needed this. Why? Because of the verse that's on it from Isaiah 43 that says, I have called you by your name. You are mine. We need to remember whose we are. I'm glued to God through Jesus Christ. You are glued to God, bound to God through Jesus Christ. That's what Jesus Christ accomplished. That's what we celebrate when we come to church, when we have communion, when we make this covenant service and make this promise to God again. It's not because of what we do, it's because of what God has done through Jesus Christ. And I encourage you to go out and buy a bottle of glue. I don't want the cheap stuff. I don't want the off-brand. I want the best glue that you can find. Whether it's the Gorilla Glue, the Crazy Glue, whatever it is. Whatever. And I want you to write on that glue. Write on that box that glue and put it someplace where you can see it on a daily basis. Whether it's on your desk, on your dashboard of your car, on your alarm clock when you get up, whether it's right where your cereal box or your coffee pot is in the morning, wherever it is, who am I glued to? That's the question. Who am I glued to? If I remember I'm glued to God, then nothing can unglue me. Do you ever hear that phrase? Oh, they're coming unglued. They're losing it. They're stressing out, they're this, they're that. Nothing can unglue me if I know I am glued to God through Jesus Christ. Who are you glued to? Who are you going to covenant with today?